Wonderful. Welcome along. You can, we're actually going to start on hands and knees anyway. So just come onto your mat and into hands and knees. And really, it's not a hands and knees warm up, but rather looking at how massive the hip joint is. Sorry, maybe that's the wrong choice of words, but it's has lots of directions. So circling one knee around and just exploring. So as you go knee to chest, you might feel a stretch through the glute. As you open the knee out to the side, like a fire hydrant, you might find an inner thigh opening. And even as you move back, like even to the ITB and coming around, and then crossing the leg over like a Gomukhasana position, which is probably the hip opening that most of us connect to, and just circling your knee around a few times and realizing that when we say hip opening, there may be this tendency to just think of pigeon pose, but actually the hip joint has so much possibility of movement. So just exploring that opening. And then let's go to the second side, so second leg, and with that same awareness, bringing that into your iliofemoral joint, and it's a ball and socket joint, so you can feel that ball gliding in the socket, and maybe psychologically put a bit of oil in there to keep the joint smooth and fluid. And remember to cross over as well, so you get that sense of stretching through the outer hip too. Great. So when we embark on hip opening, we do want to make sure that we're nice and warm. So come through a plank or hands and knees and lower yourself down onto your belly. Bring the hands back alongside the hips, palms facing down, and then lifting yourself up. So Shalabhasana here. Imagine there's a puppeteer above you, and that they're working you to lift up a little higher. And then lowering down, you can come onto the forearms and then take this dolphin plank pose position. And in dolphin plank, just holding steady, holding firm, maybe drawing on some of that power that we cultivated yesterday to infuse yourself with some little bit more strength, fortitude. And then lowering down again and lifting up into, I guess it's like bow pose. Think about lifting the thighs up off the floor, reaching back for the feet, but of course you're not going to touch. Excellent. And then lowering yourself down. Let's take this dolphin plank once more. So rising up into your dolphin plank. And as we move through this practice, so we'll be drawing on active stretch and reciprocal inhibition. These are techniques to help us increase our flexibility. You can lower the knees down. Stretch back into downward facing dog. But what I love about them is that they increase our flexibility in a way that matches strength with openness. From someone who's had too much mobility and suffered because of that, you can feel the strengthening and stretching that happens together. All right, step yourself forward and lift halfway up to open through the front of the body. Exhale to fold yourself in. Come on up just through a spinal roll, unfurling and greeting the day. So we'll take the right leg and lift the right knee up into the chest, and then cross it over and just don't quite tap the foot on the floor. So we're moving towards a Garudasana here. You might like to open the arms out and then lift the knee up again and take the foot behind. So this is like a curtsy squat. You'll feel a strengthening through the glute. You can touch the foot to the floor. If you need help balancing, by all means, use a wall would be a great idea. Okay, so then lifting up, knee into the chest and crossing over. Let's add in the arms. So you don't really touch here though. Inhale to open and lift, and exhale over. You should feel that wonderful strengthening through the glute, which we need that balance of strength and opening. One last time. This time you can cross all the way over and even bringing the arms in. And then inhaling to lift and come back. This time you'll touch the foot to the floor, and this will be your right hand to the floor, and you could come all the way down. I call this grape eating pose. I don't really know its proper name. You might feel an opening down the side of the leg, like the ITB or Adidas stripes, but you might also feel it through the side waist here. So you could eat some grapes, maybe get someone to peel them for you first. If it's too much on the wrist, of course, go on the forearm. All right, for our next trick, we need to stand back up. So drive down through that left leg and lift yourself back up. Excellent. Bring the hands back down into namaste and pause. So we've been standing on that leg for a while. Let's give it a break. Go left heel to the buttock. So we're not really going into dancer pose here. Instead, think about knees touching. Stretch the right arm up to the sky and actually bring the left heel to the buttock. And then press the hips forward, engaging through that left glute a little. So the quads, they are also part of hip opening. Excellent. And releasing to touch down. So we go again, lifting through the right leg, crossing over, hooking around, come straight into your Garuda. I'm not really worried so much about the arms, just do what you need to here. And you could do that, or you could go for this figure 4 shape. Remember to use a wall if you need help balancing. And then you could even come down with the upper arms on the outside of the shin or front of the shin. As you're drawing the elbows back, lightly press the shin forward and feel that right glute, like switch on or open like neon lights. And then inhaling to lift yourself up and exhale, releasing down. Excellent. So let's do the second side, taking your arms out for balance. Clearly I need them out. Bring the left knee up and just crossing over as if you're going to tap or wrap the legs around, but don't. And then lifting back up and taking the leg behind. And again, if you can, the foot so close to the floor, but not touching. Adding in the arms now, lift and crossing over, but don't touch. And then lifting and taking the leg out. So your leg's out to the right behind you, curtsy squat. Lifting again, adding in the arms. And then lifting and take the leg back, this time holding, lowering the hand down and lowering yourself down. Remember, you can have the forearm on the floor if you wanted to. If the top hip is dropping back, then you won't get the side body opening. So stack the hips right on top of each other. And we're just here for a few moments. All right, and our next trick, coming on up to stand. So we must drive that right foot into the floor and lift from there, and then touching down. Stretching out the right quad now. So heel to the buttock. And take the left arm up. So in dancer pose, we often just tip forward and kick the foot back. It's not that. Think hips moving forward, heel to the buttock, and even moving that right knee back a little. And then releasing and touching down. Lift up through your left leg again and crossing over all the way into Garudasana. Either staying here or lowering down. Take the elbows to the front of the shin and sinking down. And then inhaling to lift and touching down. Stretch the arms all the way up overhead. And exhale to forward fold here. Take an inhale, lift halfway up, and then stepping just your right leg back to the back of the mat. Dropping the back knee onto the floor and rocking back. So your left leg is straight here. Actually, instead of straight, we're stretching the hamstring, which is again part of hip opening. So bend the knees slightly and actively press that left heel into the earth. Think length through the spine. So you might feel that the hamstring is working, but again, it's that balance of stretching and strengthening. And then releasing and coming forward. Right hand onto the floor, reach the left hand back, if you can reach it, left hand back for the right foot. So you've got options here, maybe right hand, right foot. So what we usually do here is that we kick the foot away, but instead draw the heel in, release the hand, and try and bring the heel to the buttock. You'll feel your hamstring cramping up potentially, but you want that activation. So as soon as the hands come online, often the legs just switch off, but we want to use the legs, draw the heel to the buttock, and even tone the glutes a little. And then releasing and touching the hand down. You can stretch up and back into downward facing dog, opening the pelvis off to the left. And then coming forward towards pigeon pose, but don't touch. So you want the knee as close to the left elbow as possible and the foot towards the right wrist. And then coming back and forth a few times. So you'll feel the muscles of the inner thigh working to create that shape, which is when the muscle is working, you can come down. So when that inner thigh is working, it means that you'll get even a deeper opening through the left glute. So as you hold here, rather than be too passive, add in a 10% activation, as if you were still doing that, like you were trying to lift the knee, lift the shin up off the floor. Not so much that you'll cramp up, but just this little sense of hugging in at the front of the body, and feel how it gives you a deeper opening through the back of the body. It's really how we're wired, that we have this active passive. One muscle needs to work in order for the other one to stretch. Night, day, inhale, exhale. Really, the entire universe is wired that way. And then let yourself do more like the pancake version. Just relax completely. The splush. Allow yourself to dissolve and melt in. And then from here, let's come forward. Bring that back leg forward. So you're in like a very wide deer pose. So take the knees even wider than the mat if you can. And come forward, maybe onto the forearms, maybe the hands. What I'm hoping for is that we'll also touch on the inner thigh so that you'll get a stretch through the inner thigh. We've done everything else. Some of you might need to rearrange and take the foot out and even travel forward a little, like a half frog position, I guess. So we've done glutes, quads, hamstrings and the inner thigh, as well as maybe a little bit of ITB, perhaps. And then continue forward, look after your knees, but travel forward and into downward facing dog. We've done the left side, we'll need to do the right side. So just stepping that right foot forward without much fanfare. So the right foot comes forward. And then rocking back. And remember this slight bend in the knee. So in that way, we're hoping to feel the stretch in the belly of the muscle of the hamstring, rather than, you don't want to feel it at the back of the knee, nor right up at the sit bone. Yogi butt. It can, some people might have overstretched their hamstring. So better to work with the joints off lock. And also checking that you've got this length in the spine from the pelvis, reaching forward. And add in a little bit of activation of pressing the heel, light pressure, like 10%, pressing the heel down into the earth. Maybe for the last few breaths, you can fold in this melting, dissolving, shedding. And then transferring forward and pat under that left knee if you need to. Reach back with the right hand for the left foot, but you've got other options here. So we're looking for a quad stretch. But as I said, you're not wanting it to, you're not kicking the foot away, but rather heel to the buttock a little and get that activation. Try and do it without your hand. And notice as the hands come online that maybe the leg just switches off. But we want to maintain the work through the leg mostly. This is because in motor homunculus, which is our neural map of the body and the mind, our hands are massive. And we're just very tactile. Like I can't shop online. I need to go into a shop and touch things and feel them. So awesome thing about yoga is how we awaken these neural pathways through other areas of the body. All right, that's probably plenty. It looks like we're going to run a little late, sorry. Stretching the right leg up and back and just 3 times pulsing and coming towards that pigeon pose shape, but don't sink, don't sag. As you come across, right knee to the right elbow and foot across to the left wrist, feel the work that needs to happen. Feel that the strengthening through the inner thigh. And then as you come down and fold in, you know what muscles you need to work because of that pulse that we did. So feel that just 10%. And as you go 10% with that inner thigh, and even a feeling like you're trying to lift the shin up off the floor, You should feel your glute, your right glute, dissolve and soften. So rather than just being completely flat and passive, we can be active, awake, alert, present with the stretch. And for the last few breaths, just sink and dissolve. Do the pancake variation, I call it. The sploosh, like a pancake that's been poured into a pan, just spreading out and opening. And then taking, as you come up, you can come into this wide deer pose. So this left foot is folded back. And then coming forward, so we're greeting the inner thigh. You might need to walk that left foot out. So this is your inner left thigh. And I'm not mirroring you here. And again, we could work in the same way, adding in that 10% activation by imagining lifting the knee up off the floor. And you'll feel an activation through the back of the leg, but with it, a corresponding melting through the inner thigh. And then you can make your way up and swing the legs around. You'll need to take Savasana here for a few moments to really experience the goodness of the practice. So please lie down just for a few moments and scan through your body from the top of the head to the tips of the toes. The pelvis that is really our foundation that supports the torso, that supports the spine. And down to the legs. Feel yourself so open and connected, like the join the dots. Through the physical body, the energetic pathways, and the effect that that has on the mind and even the emotions. So I thank you for your practice. May this practice serve you well today, and that you can take this steady openness, the balance of strength and steadiness out into your day. Namaste. Thank you so much.